Right then, if you're wondering why it looks like we've stripped half the car down again, when we first bought this on the inspection, we noticed we got a little bit of play here in one of the output shafts from the gearbox. So we did a little bit of digging, and there's a few people saying it's a common problem. I don't think it's very common, but it's definitely a problem that can occur. So we had a look, can't get the bearings from VW, can't get them from any sort of known suppliers, can't get any information about them. So we made a few inquiries to gearbox specialists, and there's a few people they're saying that they can repair them. It's a lifetime guaranteed repair, it'll never happen again, blah de blah, but they want £1,000 to do it if you send the gearbox to them. So we're like, well, what do we get for £1,000? They're like, well, a lifetime guarantee that your gearbox is not going to do that again. So if it comes with all new bearings, a new clutch, and it looks nice and shiny new, then it's probably worth that. But if it's just going to be stick a shim in a bearing, then it's not worth it. So we're not going to have the car in our workshop, which you'll see why on the next video. We're not going to have it here for a while, so we decided it's a good time, rip the gearbox out, see why this has got the play in it, and once we figure out why, see if we can get a bearing. If we can't get a bearing, we'll, or the exact size bearing, we'll just get one similar, machine up some adapters and spacers and shims and what have you, and whack it in, and figure out why it happened in the first place, to be honest. If it's just a slight design issue, want some more oil get in there, then we'll try and do that. But I think it's just, this car's done 95,000 miles, and you'd expect a little bit of wear, but these gearboxes are rated to silly horsepower, so there's no reason why something like that should happen. But we'll get to the bottom of it, get it repaired, and we'll try and keep everybody updated on what the repair actually is. It's not going to be a service that we're hoping to do for everybody and their dog, so we'll at least show how it's done, and we'll go from there. But once the box is out, we'll have another look, and there might be some interesting stuff that people maybe have never seen on a gearbox like this. So stay tuned in. Right then, Paul's, yeah, you are good, Paul. So Paul's got gearbox out. He's eagerly anticipating seeing what's behind this flange, so we're going to pry it out, see what we can find, and hopefully it's a little bit of bearing carnage, and it's got a part number stamped on it that we can just order from wherever. So these are just, as far as we're aware, just pressed in with some little clips that just stop them popping out when you drop them out, but it's might have to speed this section up. Maybe add some Benny Hill music or something like that. There's already someone. Take that shaft out. That shaft goes behind the clutch. This is like a flex plate, like you'd see on an automatic. We can take that out, can't we? So this is a dual mass flywheel. So this is seems like it's in decent enough condition. A little bit of play in it, but we might, while it's out, it's not a big deal to get rid of it. But this gap here at the back is where that shaft goes along. The idea that behind this is so that they can get the engine further back, because usually your engine would have to be like, your flywheel would be in front of here, you're probably, 3 or 4 inch further back because of doing this, because you get your dry shaft in line. So this is why this B8 platform is a lot more desirable as a performance car than the B7. So it's not just on the diesels, all the engines have got this sort of gearbox arrangement. So this is the front differential here that we're trying to get to. So we'll just need to whip all these bolts off here, and away we go. I might as well get my hands mucky, Paul. I'm here.
That one.
That's wrong end, Paul. You've given me wrong thing here. He's trying to ruin me stardom. But these front diffs, when you look at them, absolutely tiny. They're surprising they could take the power that they do, to be honest. Oh dear. Pretty strong units. But it must have be concentrating all the forces in the wrong place. I'm going to get a bit of oil coming out here, so go on, Paul. I think we need to hit it with an hammer. Which is your favourite tool, isn't it?
Amazon pry bars.
Amazon pry bars, Paul's favourite tool. Surprised he's got these sockets and adapters, to be honest. I'm just trying to let it tip over. It's quite a hefty bit of machining on here. Nice O-ring, no silly gaskets to play with, which is always interesting. Right, so we're gonna, all this fresh oil that we put in here not so long ago, it's coming out. So that's the differential. So now we're just gonna have to try pop this off. I don't know if it'll. Can we even see it circle it there? We can't, can we?
Screwdriver.
So this is the drive that comes from the rear of the gearbox, where it goes to the back. That's a bevel drive. It goes onto the pinion gear on the differential. So that shaft goes all the way down the gearbox. This is where the gear set is. This is where the mechatronics and everything lives. Through there to the back, so it gets a drive off the portion that goes to the rear wheel. So that's how these work. If we can find a exploded diagram or something like that to show, we'll try and put it on video, but it's probably not that easy. Paul's whacking away, and it's not ideal to be prying at these kind of things, but we've already tried doing it from the other side, so it's not working. There we go. Out it comes. Oh, it's still in there. That's not easy, that is it?
No.
I think we need two. I'll get that one. You'll get that one. Oh, there we go. Like butter. Yeah, so this is the bearing in question then. I'm sure we'll be able to find something. There's no plate in the outer race. All the play must be in there then. There's no identifying numbers that we can see there, but they're sometimes on the back at bearing, so we'll have to improvise to pull that off. I think it's not going to be straightforward. We need to get that seal though, a new one of them, because that's not looking the best. Surprising it's not been leaking really, because that seal's...
That's a bit of grease around.
Yeah, maybe, but it doesn't look perfect. But we'll order a new one of them. See what we can do, but this bearing's not going to be easy to get off. There's not much to grab on, is there?
Get it off.
These are unavailable from Volkswagen, so it's not something like on earlier gearboxes and on most stuff. You can just look on Etka, find the bearing that you're looking for. There's a part number, order it. They're not usually cheap. It might be 30 quid for a bearing like that, but it's cheap. It's cheaper than looking around for hours and hours trying to find the exact one from a bearing supplier. Yeah, that little circle holding it in. It's, all that caused us a bit of issues, but we still wouldn't have been able to see that bearing anyway, so it's not a bad thing. It don't look worn, does it really? It's not like horrendous. But it's just, it's got far too much play in it. So we'll get this pulled off by whatever means necessary. It's not going to be pretty, but you need to get some expensive bearing pulls if you're going to do stuff like this easily. And we're not gearbox rebuild specialists, so we generally don't have the stuff that we could do with. So we'll see how we get on, and when we found the problem and found the bearings, we'll come back. Right then. So the car's not here at the minute, so we had a look at the play in the output shaft that we had. We were thinking that we might have a little bit of an issue with a bearing or a shim or something like that, 'cause this is the differential housing that we had apart earlier. But when we looked into it, we think that the drive flange is faulty, so we've ordered a new one, genuine Volkswagen part. It's about 120 quid or something like that. We've got the genuine seal in the box as well. Some of this sort of stuff can be had aftermarket, but some of it's not. And one thing, I were hoping that it came with a new clip, but it's not. Oh, it has, over here. Over here, I can see it. So, we've got that. So this, I already pried it out a little bit, and I think the clip is missing on this one, so just get it all the way out. So we think this is the problem, that the splines have worn on this one, which they shouldn't really made together, but we think the splines have worn out on this one. So in theory, if we put a new seal in and whack this new one in, we should be alright. So we'll just get this seal out. Try not to damage the bar on the way out as well. Easy enough. New one in. So really, we've got to try to get away with that, damaging that. And I think we're going to need to get a socket and an hammer, which is Paul's favourite tool. Just run and grab a socket. Back at it with a nice big socket. Just try not to damage it. The other one was flush with this outer casing. A little bit more to go. There we go. So all nice and flat, and we know from last time that this clip stopped us getting this out unless we took diff out, which were a bit of a pain. Gotta make sure there's only one. Oh, that's not gone. It should have done. Could just see the lip of the seal had not quite gone back, so we should be getting somewhere now. Just tapper it in. Got to go until that clip's passed. A little pry to check it's in. There we go. New drive flange in. The only way to be 200% sure we've got no play in that would be to get it in the to get a big inner CV on there and get a wobble, but it feels a little bit better. Still got a little bit of play, which we've got an option to shim the bearing up behind there, but we'll get the CV on it when it's back in car, and we'll have a look and decide if we need to do that. But while we've got it all apart, we always get asked a lot of stuff to do with the dual mass flywheels and what brand to choose and what you can get and what you should and shouldn't fit. Obviously, there's different brands, cheap brands and stuff, but generally the only two that we work with, Saks and LUK. So while we got this out, we thought it'd be rude not to have a little look. LUK, that's what these both are. So this is the old one that came out of the car. The LUK logos and the Volkswagen logos are just around here. It'll probably be hard to see with a camera, but that's an LUK Audi, so that's a factory part. So what we're going to look at is the play between them. So if we look here, they've got absolutely loads of play all over the place. But if you look at the brand new one, it's exactly the same. Just loads of play. So if you take yours out and it looks like this, it's not a big deal because that's how they are. The main thing that you're measuring on a dual mass flywheel, especially like one in a Golf or whatever, non-dual mass, is the rotation that it's got. So if you look here, I've just put a mark on here which it's hard for anybody to be able to see, but that is the amount of movement this has got when I'm not really putting any force in. Then I put some force in and get it to move a fair bit more both ways. If we just mark that up as I do it, if I try and hold it as far, that's as far as I can get without going too crazy. And that's sort of the middle. I can go a little bit more than that. So they've got a fair bit of play in them. So that's the new one. So some people will be saying you need a new one, it's got too much play, but that's what the dual mass flywheel's there to do. It's there to take up the harmonics. When the injector fires, you're getting a quicker acceleration on the crank. But what this is there to do is try and make that a smooth acceleration all the way, so you're not getting the pulse hammering away at the gearbox and the drivetrain. That's what makes diesels even noisier. Modern diesels, it'd be even worse than old diesels if they didn't have these dual masses on, because the injection pulse is so strong and the torque rise is so strong, the cylinder pressure is so big. So if we look at the used one, which we think it's in fairly decent condition, but we've got it out, so we might as well change it. So that's the amount of play it's got sort of moving it, which is very similar to that, but when we move it all the way as far as we can, we're going there, and then we'll go all the way that way, which is easier to get it that way. Get into there. So this is by no means a scientific test. If I get a ruler on there, measure it, we're definitely going to have a little bit more movement on there. So roughly 34 mil movement on that one, and this one 24. So there's like 9-10 mil difference between them. So for the amount of money these cost and the amount of labour it is to take the gearbox apart, it's a good idea to put a new dual mass flywheel in. So people might be wondering what this stuff laid out on desk is here. This is not the correct one for this car, but it's a genuine Volkswagen DSG clutch pack. So we'll have a little look inside that, just in case you're wondering where it belongs in the gearbox, because that's the flywheel. The clutch is behind here because it's part of the front part of the gearbox. So that's in there, sealed off. It's got its own oil in these gearboxes compared to the gears themselves. Not the same on the DQ250s and DQ500s that these come from. But this is where it lives. So you've got the input shaft there, driven from the centre of your clutch here. So we'll have a quick look at how these kind of work. Hand's a little bit dirty, but it's no big deal. So we've took a few bits apart, but these are the driven plates. So it'll make a bit more sense in a minute. That's kind of on a normal clutch and flywheel. That'd be your pressure plate. If you've ever seen a triple or a twin plate clutch, you'll be familiar with this sort of arrangement. And these are the friction discs. So these are what's inside a normal clutch. These are very similar to like a normal automatic clutch. So you see, these are where the drive comes from. That's where the friction comes from. So there's I can see on the inner clutch, 1, 2, 3, 4, this is the 5th one. So there's 5 on the little clutch, and then underneath here, there's another 5. I think there's 4 on these ones. 4 on the big clutch. So this is how the sort of term dual clutch transmission comes, because you've got the arrangement inside the gearbox. We'll try and put up a picture to see. But you've got your odd gears on one shaft and a shaft going over the top of that with your even gears. So then you're switching between a small clutch and a big clutch. So if you wanted a clutch that held more power, you'd go bigger, bigger, bigger. So you can see if you've got your odd gears driven on your centre, which I can't remember which way around it is on these now, but it's one way on one and one way on the other, I'm sure. For instance, if 7th gear on this car is on the little clutch, you've got to think you've got a clutch in a higher gear that's smaller, trying to hold the same amount of power. So it's usually the small clutch on these that slips first. So how this works, you've got the drive from here, that goes back into there, like that. It's quite hard to visualise, so we'll try, if possible, to put something up on screen to help visualise a bit more. But you've got your outer bit is driven all the time. It's connected to your gearbox all the time, should I say. And this centre bit then is here, as what goes between your clutch plates, which these have got to be absolutely perfectly lined up, and I don't think they are, to go back together. It's going to go eventually. There we go. That's in there. So these can move independently. If you look there, it's gone in now. Just keeps going. It's hard to do once it's gone all the way in. It's hard to get its turn, especially when now I'm covered in gearbox oil. No, can't get it to go. Need a little screwdriver or something. But this, there we go. This all turns independently. I'll try and do it on the big one. That's probably easier. So your plates and the outer section here is all driven independently, and the clutch pressure, which is another bit of magic, is pushing all these plates together. I wish I'd not took this apart now. Let's leave the mechanics to the mechanics. But you can see that the centre where the friction material is driven independently of the sort of whole arrangement, which this is splined to the gearbox, so the centre stays with the gearbox all the time, and then the outer, this is splined to the flywheel. So the centre is driven from the engine, this drives the whole unit, and then this drives the gearbox. So then what you've got inside the gearbox is a solenoid that feeds pressure to these, so it's dynamic. So when you're driving at slow speed and this clutch is slipping, you've only got a low pressure, so you're letting a difference in engine and gearbox speed occur. That's the clutch slipping. Like you would when you're setting off in a manual car, you just sort of feather the clutch. This all obviously happens all automatically through the mechatronics unit. When you're tuning a car in a manual, you'd put a stiffer pressure plate in. It's not required on a DSG car, because what you do, you just change that solenoid to open a bit more, give you more pressure, and that pushes all this together harder. The sort of force, I think standard's 13 bar. When you tune them, you can knock them up to 16, 17, 18 bar of pressure. That's where you get extra grab. But at some stage, we've not quite got there yet, and I don't think we're going to get there until maybe start squirting nitrous. We're going to slip the inner clutches, so we're going to need to upgrade the whole package. So what a few companies will do, they get a standard factory Volkswagen unit like this, take all them clutch plates out, put new ones in, change the shim in between them, and then whack a load more clutch pressure down them. There's a certain point where the pump work in the gearbox won't let you have it. What that's going to be, we're not quite sure. But there's a lot of information on these now, like GTRs and stuff have a dual clutch gearbox. There's a lot of information on what you can do. The only downside is it's not cheap. So we're going to try it on the standard clutches because this project's a development card. It's not just to throw as much money as we can at it, produce some headline figures and get rid of it. We want to know where these slip because customers want to know if they want that 400, 500 horsepower mark, it's going to start slipping a clutch. They might only want a little bit less than that and keep the standard clutch. Got a resident flywheels now, that's all that about. So hopefully I've not confused people too much. It's a very quick introduction to what's going on. By no means is it a full idiot-proof guide on how to strip your clutch down and how it all works, but it's just a rough idea. And hopefully it doesn't become apparent why we need to know this. I'm hoping standard clutch holds everything we need and we never have to upgrade them because it's not an easy job to take this back out and not going to be an easy job to tune an upgraded clutch to work perfectly like a standard one. So yeah, it's an interesting gearbox. It weighs an absolute ton. I think that's one of the contributing factors to why this car weighs so much. But we thought it'd be a nice thing to have a play with. So we're going to throw it back together. We've got the new drive flange, put the new flywheel in. This clutch can go back on the shelf. And if you buy this clutch, it's famous. And the next instalment of this A5 project should be quite an interesting one. Bit different to what we've seen on other people's A5s and Audi builds. So this, especially diesel ones, not many people do what we're going to do to them. So we'll get that up as soon as we can. This one's just a little in between time filler until we get the car back. Thank you very much. Right, gearbox is back in, a lot less play in that output shaft now, so if anybody's got that same problem, 120 quid, and you can sneak that out, drop it subframing, so you don't need to take gearbox out, but we've put new dual mass flywheel in, put that output shaft in, mint, no problem. So I imagine some people are wondering what that piece of pipe that we'd attached at Breather were for. So we've run a bit of that, it's 10mm fuel hose that we ended up using, it's got to be fuel compatible, that's the word I'm looking for. Because what we're doing, we've routed it up to here. This funnel's so we can fill it with about an extra litre and a half, 2 litre of dual clutch fluid. And then we can put this catch can on there, just a little 20 quid thing from eBay. We might even carry these on website, we'll see. There might be a link in the bottom description to see. But we're just going to put that here somehow next to water injection tank, and then we'll run the other end of this pipe, just keep it quite high, we'll just tuck it somewhere out of here just so it's not, any fumes are not getting into heater matrix. We don't want no stinky gearbox oil. The reason we're doing that, it's a known problem on all dual clutch transmissions, but like Skylines, GTRs, that sort of stuff, they do like a billet oil pan that's got baffles in, that's bigger capacity, and they still have that problem where when you're doing an hard launch, like they're doing like 2 seconds to 60, but when you're doing hard launching like the RS5s and S4s and stuff, they're having a problem where the fluid's moving away from the pickup, then you get an interruption of oil flow to your dual clutches, so you get a clutch slip, or it'll bang into gears and just do some weird stuff. So, for the sake of 20 quid and a bit of fuel hose and a little bit of faffing about, I think it's worthwhile. So that's that. Gearbox all done. We'll try and get a road test in, see if there's any difference. We only notice a little bit of a whine, not something that you pick up on camera. So we should be all good. So hopefully we can get some more launches and get some more on the road, on track footage shortly. Thank you, and hopefully this one weren't too boring.